Welcome to a new video where I want to show you the short unboxing of the Xiaomi 14 Pro and my first impressions. So let's get started. So here it is, the Xiaomi 14 Pro. I have it in the black edition in contrast to my Xiaomi 14 that is in white here. So let's take a look at the device itself. We can see here we have a huge, an enormous camera bump that sticks out pretty much, even bigger than the one on the 14, as you can see here maybe. So it's definitely sticking out a little bit further out than the one on the 14. Why is that? Yeah, just because we have a variable aperture on the 14 Pro, and this tag requires a little bit more space. This is why we have here a little bit more of a camera bump. It's a black finish, matte in this case, in contrast to the 14, which has this glossy kind of finish. The glossy one feels a bit less slippery, I have to say, actually, and this here it's a bit, they have like the sides glossy. This is why it's not 100% slippery, but it feels a little bit slippery, more slippery than the 14 in this regards. Otherwise, we have a volume rocker and a power button. On the top, we have here a speaker out. So it's not only using the front speaker here, the earpiece. Here, my daughter is also saying that, like on the 14 is clean here on the top, as you can see there, because it's using the speaker here, the earpiece, as another speaker. But this one here with a dedicated speaker should give us a little bit more volume output there, hopefully 50-50 with the bottom firing. Let's talk about the bottom firing. We have a dual nano SIM card slot, USB-C 3.2 I think it is, 10 gigabits per second, and we have another speaker there. And we have my daughter who's complaining about something. Here, look at this book. Just study it. Study it. Yeah, you will be a smartphone reviewer as well. Let's take a look at the fingerprint scanner. You can see it's turning off and the AOD is not an always on display. So yes, it's still unlocking very fine. Even if I wait for it completely to log out, you can see always on display. You can tweak it, of course, customize it if you want to. But the fingerprint scanner, even if it's turned off, if I hold it, it's very fast indeed. No issues at all with this. This screen is a little bit of a larger screen than this here. You can see here the Xiaomi 14 has a 6.36 and this is a 6.7 inch. Just let's go into settings, just check it out, because usually it is written down here what kind of display we have. 6.73 inch there, and on the 14 we have the 6.36 inch, so it is a bit of a bigger device. But there's another thing that you will notice. Eventually you will see it now. Here on the 14 we have a flat device. It feels completely flat. Here on the 14 Pro we have also a flat display that is slightly curved towards the edges there. Not sure if you can see it there. So it has no curve actually, it is just a basic flat device, and then it's like curving very at the edge, very hard towards the edges. But the one thing that I don't like with this is we have flat sides here, and this curve, you feel it every time you wipe like this, or you want to go like this, you feel it. And also the screen protector that's put on, you will feel it every time. And I don't know why they designed it like this, because a normal flat display would work the same way. And what I really prefer when it comes to those designs, here I have the Mate 60 Pro that also has this flat display, but also then the curves towards the side, also screen protector on. But here we have like rounded edges, and this is where when I go with my finger over here, you don't feel the edge because it's rounded. It feels like one unit with the glass, where here on the Xiaomi you definitely feel the edge a little bit, and this is like the big difference that you can see here between those two, and where I would prefer the Huawei definitely for those edges and the display there. Both have this quad round design, so it's also nice if you do gestures. Let's do gestures, for example. So if you do gestures like this, it is working nicely without any issues with the round kind of design, but I prefer the one from Huawei. So now I have both here. Let's compare the sound. Let's first start with the 14. Loudest sound now. Yeah, it's good. It's not bad, I have to say. It is good. It has bass. It's loud enough, I would say. But I heard already louder. Now let's hear the 14 Pro. Loudest setting. So it's getting a bit louder, and I think it has more clarity in the highs, where the 14 has a little bit more bass and the highs are not so clear. Here the 14 Pro has a little bit more highs, and definitely you hear and feel the top speaker as well, that is vibrating a little bit. So in terms of speakers, the 14 Pro wins. Let's bring the predecessor, the 13 Pro, into the game. First of all, let's check out the camera bumps. You can see the 13 Pro has a way smaller camera bump and is a thinner device overall. Yeah, even my daughter agrees to this. And yeah, the camera bump is much larger on the 14 Pro for sure. But one thing that the 14 Pro has not so good, yeah, one thing that the 14 Pro does not so good, yeah, it's the touch. Because when I go to touch here and I go to sound and touch there and then touch here, is the touch motor here, or the haptic engine, is way more precise. We also have only the haptic feedback level default and strong and light. And yeah, the default is the medium size one, and you can feel every little bits and pieces here vibrating very nicely. On the 14, however, the default is strong. And this has a reason, because we have a weaker kind of touch sensor here. Let's make it a bit quieter. And yeah, it doesn't feel so precise as the one of the 13 Pro. Might be also because the 13 Pro is a bit thinner, that the 13 Pro feels a bit better here in terms of vibration and touch motor. But this is really something that I noticed, and when you have them side by side, you can really see how much thinner the device feels, also because we have these curves here on the 13 Pro that you can see here, that we don't have, because it's a flat device here on the, or flat edges on the 14 Pro, where it just feels a little bit slimmer and easier to hold. And of course the vegan leather version of the 13 Pro is suits my liking a little bit more. But let's take a look at the cameras, not of the 13 Pro. I will do a dedicated camera review or comparison between the 13 Pro and the 14 Pro. We want to check out the 14 Pro's cameras in a first glance, the front one and the back one as well, as it's dark outside already and I have to take care of my baby right now. I cannot go outside, but I will have some indoor shots for you that I can analyze. So let's do a video here with the Xiaomi 14 Pro. I have my external microphone plugged in, and let's see if the wind noise reduction issue is still an issue here with the 14 Pro, or it's just affecting the 14 and 13 Ultra. I think it's a main issue. Nevertheless, of course, the 14 Pro also has 4K 30 frames per second recording. It works quite nice. It's a bit noisy, definitely here in the dark, but what do you think about this one? Now recording with the main camera, and you noticed, of course, a different kind of sound quality, because I just plugged out, or just ripped out the USB receiver here for my wireless mic, because otherwise I guess it's like not very bearable, this sound quality. So this is the main camera sensor. I think it can also change the aperture in video mode, but whatever aperture you have set initially when recording will be there. So I cannot switch on the fly during video. It cannot switch on the fly during video. Like if I go to a darker place, I don't think the lens will open up from f2. I think that it's using right now to f1.4. I don't think it's doing that. But yeah, if it's doing that, you should have seen like an exposure getting brighter there. for sure. Otherwise, it's sticking to f2, same as Huawei is doing it with their variable aperture lenses. And of course, 4K 30 frames per second that I'm recording here right now. I can also switch to the ultra wide angle. So let's do this. This is the ultra wide angle. You can see a little bit of my living room here, a little bit more about my living room here. And yeah, what do you think about this ultra wide angle, 4K 30 in this like dim lit kind of situation? There's a light, of course, going on. There's an aquarium there in the background. Maybe we try the zoom lens to see if some of those fishes are still alive and kicking. So there's one swimming around. Let's zoom on in. And this is 2.3 times and switch lenses, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 8 times. 15 times. There's another one. The yellow one wants to go into shot. As you can see here, this is, I think, working fine with the Xiaomi 14 Pro. And yeah, let's go back to 1 times. You can see it's switching a little bit, but usually Xiaomi is doing a good job when it comes to the zooming in, zooming out, and switching between lenses. So let's show you the shooting experience. This is the camera app, and we have, of course, the Leica Vibrant and Leica Authentic look. I will be using the Leica Authentic look for this kind of photos here. Let's quickly take a shot, like from the Nintendo Switch next to the PlayStation 5, for example, with the main camera sensor, to check out the bokeh that we have here. And you can see this is nice and sharp. There we have the bokeh fall off already, and this one as well is falling off there. So very, very nice indeed. We can check some details as well here, as usual on Xiaomi devices, and it will state the f-stop number, in this case, because we have darker here inside, f1.42, 1/25th of a second, ISO 800, because we have, the variable aperture that can open up there and can close down, and of course we can control it, but by default it is nice to see that the automatic is doing its job by providing us the right aperture. One specialty of Xiaomi devices is the beautification. No, it's the portrait mode, and we have various different portrait options here. Documentary 35mm, swiftly bokeh 50mm, portrait 75mm. Let's do a 75mm one here on this Easter bunny. Yeah, I know Easter is already over, but yeah, we're rescuing this little flower there. And this one looks nice already as well. As good as on the 13 Pro, I would say. There's a bit of dust and spider net there. As I said, we're rescuing it from the cold outside because standing outside all the time. Nice and detailed, a little bit of noise going on, but still very nice background blur as well. And a good portrait shot, I would say. So let's do a selfie shot with the camera. So let's go to portrait, let's go to selfie, and this is how I look like with the selfie shot. So what do you think about this one here? Let's take a shot. We have an HDR indicator, so if there's some HDR, there we go. Now there's HDR showing up. There we go. Maybe without HDR, now with HDR. Nice shot. Let's take a look at this one here, and what we can see here is we have nice bokeh balls there in the background. The cutout, I think, is okay. Sharpness is okay as well. It's a bit noisy for sure, but it's dark in here, so not much of something that I would like complain about. Also, sharpness and details here on my shirt is nice. And this, by the way, a nice little strap that I have on for recording this kind of thing. A new addition to my arsenal that I can use. Maybe I can show it to you like this. That I can use here for recording such videos. Hopefully you can see what I mean. So yeah, nice portrait, I think, for selfies indoors. I think it's good. It's doing a good job. So let's talk a little bit about the contents of the box and what comes in the box next to the smartphone itself. We have the 120 watt charger here, the charging brick that is USB-A sadly still, so I think they should at one point upgrade to USB-C. Nevertheless, we get, of course, because this is a device bought by Trading Shenzhen. By the way, link in the description, you will find, not link, in the description you find a discount code that gives you a little bit of discount there if you want to order something from Trading Shenzhen. 120 watt, very fast charging. You get, of course, an adapter for the EU if you're in the EU, Sadly, USB-A to C cable, but this one here, if you want to use it for data transfer, the new 10 gigabits data transfer that you can do with USB-C on the device itself, this one doesn't support it. This is just USB 2 as speed there. So you have to get another cable. So this is, I think, a limitation of the charging technology still, because the USB port can charge 120 watts, but then only with this cable that has USB-C, USB 2.0 instead of 3.2 or something like this. So this is like a big bummer, I would say. Otherwise, I think it's a very nice idea to transfer files over there. But if you have to take two cables, one for charging and one for getting your data off the device quickly, it's a bit of a bummer. I think Xiaomi should improve on this, especially in the Ultra version. Let's take a look about the Xiaomi HyperOS. So HyperOS, the new user interface there, as you can see here, this is version 1014 for the Pro version. I have here a little bit of space used up already, as you can see, but usually it's like 20 gigabytes that it's using, so it's not of a big difference there. The only big difference is when you go in here, you can see system. The system itself is only using 8 gigabytes instead of like 20 or something like this it's usually using. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, it's a very, very fast CPU there inside. The operating system runs very, very fluid and fast without any issues. And I have here under display and brightness the option to go into the display resolution, go to WQHD, which I want to have, and 120 Hertz. Of course, I have set it to custom, and then refresh rate 120 Hertz. This is the one thing that you have to do if you want to get the fastest. Otherwise, the device is good in terms of customizations and so on. No issues there at all. We have like this new AUD and the new themes that you can download here from this. And of course, the super wallpapers are also part of this one here. Let's go into and show you the super wallpapers. So Snowy Peak, Geometry, Faraway, and so on. Faraway Rings, and you have even more super wallpapers. But stay tuned for our new releases. It is a while, Xiaomi, you have to bring some new super wallpapers to the device. Otherwise, it's very nice, cleaned up user interface, especially when it comes to the settings here. So the settings have been revamped and more structured and organized there than ever before. I like this very, very much, those restructured settings, because it's easier to find things there for sure. When it comes to benchmarks, very interesting, not multimedia, I want to go system and then benchmarks. Geekbench 6, I can show you comparison with the Xiaomi 14, November 10th. Let's go in system here as well. As you can see, I use device clone, or Mi Mover it's called here, to clone the 14 to the 14 Pro. Nevertheless, here you can see the benchmarks that I did just a few hours ago. So you can see that the single score benchmark is a bit higher on the 14 Pro in comparison to the 14, but also the multi-core score is very, very close, just 5 points apart, which is like showing that both are running at full speed almost. But the 14 Pro probably has a little bit better thermals here than the 14, because the 14 is a little bit smaller there, so has to deal with thermals a little bit differently than the 14 Pro. But these are very, very fast devices for sure, and one of the fastest that you can find on the market currently. The fluidity of the device is very, very nice. They improved upon it definitely for sure. I also like this HyperOS Chinese version, because we have a little bit of quick toggles. Like, for example, if I want to shoot directly a portrait with 75mm, I can jump into the camera app directly immediately, which is quite nice here from this app vault, how they call it. And we also have like the possibility to have black and white natural photography directly here from the menu, which is quite nice. So I like these options. If I go into the camera app again, however, it's going into this black and white mode. So I have to close the camera app, open it up again, and then I'm in the normal mode. So this might be something that you have to keep in mind. Otherwise, the operating system is running nice and without any issues with Google Play services. Trading Shenzhen is, of course, installing Google Play services for you, so you have no issues with installing applications. And of course, we have also, when we check out system settings, we have DRM white wine level 1 here without any issues. I think you can also run Netflix without any issues. Let's try Netflix here. Was an issue with the Xiaomi 14 still, but I think here this one, let's just log into it. Hopefully it's working. Yeah, it's working nicely, so shouldn't be any issues with the Netflix option here. And if I go into, where is it, app settings, to check the specifications, so we have full HD here, no HDR however, but full HD is possible on the Netflix, which is quite nice. And indeed we have some other system stuff here. Here we have CPU, of course, Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. But we have, of course, also safety net that we can check here, run safety net here. And yeah, of course, there's some advertisements in this safety net test. We should have started another one. But you can see it's passed, so it should be no issues running Google Wallet, something like this, Google Pay, with this device. So overall, what do you think? What I think about the Xiaomi 14 Pro? To summarize it, it's a good device, but I don't like it so much as the vanilla Xiaomi 14. This one is a thinner device. I like the straight display a little bit more than this one curved here. That I think that the Huawei did it a little bit better with the curves here, because we have a straight line here, so it should be a straight display there, otherwise it feels a little bit wrong. Also, the camera bump is quite large, but if the variable aperture is really working here and give you much more benefit than on the Xiaomi 14, which basically has the same setup without the variable aperture and therefore is a little bit thinner, we have to check out definitely. Yeah, the speakers are better on this 14 Pro, but the 14 is not so far off either. So if you want to save a little bit money, the 14 is definitely also something to think about it. That's my preferred choice. Otherwise, if you're interested in the 14 Pro, I will put a link down below to Trading Shenzhen which can import it for you without any issues. So that's it for my first impressions video of the Xiaomi 14 Pro. What do you think? Write it down in the comments. Until the next time. Bye.